So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to do a battery replacement. This is a iPad Pro 12.9. This is a 5th gen. The 5th and 6th are pretty darn similar. I mean, honestly, they're pretty darn similar across the board. So as you can see, my screen is already off. I did a charging port replacement and it came back in for, I guess, not being able to charge. Come to find out, I did a port replacement. The phone or the device now boots. It like lights up and everything. It just doesn't show battery percentage. And I'm really hoping that that's a battery issue. You can kind of see if you look at the battery, how there are these sort of larger tabs and then you have these two small ones off here. Essentially the way the battery percentage works is there's a little motherboard that's on here that relays to your board. Essentially with the charges, it does some math and then figures out, you know, what that battery percentage would be. And it's not uncommon for the battery to go bad and then for that function to stop working. This is, as you can tell, I've already removed the screen. So I'm going to link a video just showing you how to do that particular section of it. But yeah, essentially I'm going to link you a video where I do, I think, a charging port replacement, and then you're just going to follow all the steps up to pulling the screen off and then come back to this one. Cause yeah, obviously the screen's already off. From that point forward, it's then just a matter of removing the motherboard, and then there are some battery adhesive. There's some battery tabs that we're going to pull out, and then last but not least, we have some adhesive somewhere around here, which usually is right around here, but yeah, we'll get to that. If you need parts, check out eTech Parts, 5% off your order with coupon code ROW2024. Yeah, get some great parts, support the channel. From here, essentially we're just going to grab your handy dandy magnetic mat, and then it's just a matter of pulling a bunch of flex cables, connectors, so on and so forth. And there are a ton of them for all the speakers and all the different flex cables that we have. If I had to guess, this flex cable goes over here for the mic, and then this flex goes over here for, I don't know, whatever the hell it has. I think something to do with the Apple Pencil. So we're definitely going to need to be careful because as you can see, these flex cables run under here. When we get to that point, I'll mention it again.
So, first of all, if you've got this far and you think, hell no, I do mailings. Second, I also buy iPhones. Working, broken, whatever. Even if it looks like this, I'm still interested. Link in the description. Let's make a deal.
All right, that's great. Yeah, so from the looks of it, the bulk of the adhesive is just right here. So yeah, a little bit of heat warms it up. All of 1, 2, 3, 4 of these little antennas. Then we have our Face ID flexes. We then have a couple of more of these tiny little stupid things. And then we also have a section of the board that juts off here. So make sure not to forget about that. And then in Apple's infinite wisdom, this little plate is connected to this antenna with just a piece of tape, but you can sort of trim that off. Generally, rear cameras are held in with adhesive. Unlike iPhones, I don't know why they do this. So I guess I'm good. And then we have this last flex right here. And yeah, that's largely it. Don't forget about this stupid little thing which runs all the way over from this part. But really all you need to do is just get it off of the board. All right, now comes for the board removal process. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. I would suggest, honestly, both. So if you have a heat mat, use it. If you don't have a heat mat, you can sort of just use a hair dryer and just heat up the back of the device. And then something else I use is isopropyl alcohol, specifically 99%. You can also use 91. Do not use 70 because you could damage the motherboard that way. As long as you use 91 or 99, you won't damage the board. And essentially the trick is just the board is just adhered with double-sided tape. So it's just a matter of loosening up that double-sided tape with either heat or isopropyl alcohol. So I'm using a spudger. And you don't want to use too much force. So sometimes I would literally just sort of pause and then just let the board naturally, like the force of the spudger sort of naturally create a wedge and then lift up. Next, I will, once again, if you need to, you can sort of heat up the board. If it's not rocking back and forth, there's a possibility that you still have, I don't know, you still have something connected or there's a screw holding something down. And isopropyl alcohol is really your friend. I mean, that and just a little bit of time. And then from here, let's see, we can kind of nudge. Oh, that's lovely. We'll peel this up. Because we have this arm over here, it's really easy to sort of break off, so be careful. And then I was almost worried for a sec. It felt like this was a flex that was connected, but it was just adhesive. But as you can see, our strips of adhesive are just where these are right here. You can see that some of them are left behind. But yeah, this is our board. We can take this and set it aside. So if you look at the battery, you'll notice some little tabs. You'll have to look closely. On this portion of the battery, it's symmetrical, so you have one here and here, another here and here, and then you have two here, and then one here. And it's just a matter of just pulling these out. So make sure to be careful. You know, if you're, depending on what tool or method you're using, be careful of our flex here and here. Once again, I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol, but we're going to start and just get as far as we can. You want to pull as, you know, from at a rather shallow angle, you know, like as close to the board, I'm sorry, as close to the battery as possible. So that was the end of the first strip. Or I got as far as I could with the first strip. So I'm almost positive, but they almost work like a U. So this tab is connected to this tab. But as you can see, it helped when I wedged this in here. You don't want to do it too early, because obviously you don't want to pry up on the battery unnecessarily. You also don't want to do it with metal tools, because you could accidentally stab. But we get our battery adhesive started. Now if you want to, you just as easily can apply a few drops. It makes this process go so much smoother, and it makes it this less likely to tear. And I can already feel it starting to tear there. So let's see, can I get away with saving this from being torn? So I can feel a little, you know, it not wanting to budge. Oh God, this is doing the same thing. And that one broke. So I'm gonna leave this one and then just move on to the next, and we'll come back to this and any other ones that tear. So I feel a little bit of resistance, so this usually means we're probably back here. So if we can let the alcohol I can feel that starting to tear. Now we have whatever amount right here. So I'm just gonna let some alcohol in. Ooh, that was a decent amount, but once again, alcohol for the win. So from the looks of it, the adhesive is mainly from about here to here. So I'm gonna use some heat just to soften up the area. If you don't have heat, you can use a heat mat or a blow dryer. So that came up pretty easily. It was just that little bit right there from here to here. Now I'm gonna use a second spudger, or if you can, just, I don't know, put a credit card or a playing card, or you just don't want this adhesive to stick to the board again, because then obviously you're gonna have to do the same thing twice. And this is our battery. Yeah, it'd be awesome if they made this into 2 cells like they do in all other models, but they had to put the board in the middle. Now, remember, your battery connector goes on the right side. One of the things I like to do is I'll cut the tabs, and I will sort of like soft install the battery. So the last thing that I want to do is peel off all the adhesive just to find out that I don't have a battery problem. All right, so one of the things that I like to do is I'll sort of temporarily install the battery, so I don't remove the little plastic film that's right here. It just makes it easier if I need to, let's just say this is a defective battery, or battery wasn't my problem, or whatever the case happens to be. You know, if I gotta pull this battery out, I can do it and not have to fight the adhesive that came on here. And all you really need to do from this point forward is connect kind of a few basic things, which would basically just be put your board back in, connect your charging port, connect your power button, and then obviously connect your screen, and then you can sort of test it without going through all of the install process. Because once again, if it's something else, it's kind of a pain in the ass to have to undo everything.
So we're first going to add some flux, and then I'm adding some low melt solder, which is just going to help lower the melting temperature of the solder. And then we're using some more flux, heating this up, and we're just going to slowly remove the port. You can see it becoming liquid, then it pops right out. Now I'm going to wick away all of the old solder, and this is kind of difficult because you need to get into those little crevices, which is why I was using the heat gun. And then I'm going to come back, add some 183 solder, flow this into place. Then I'm going to add a little more solder to this joint on the left, and we're good.
Yeah, 500 something, 500 something, 600 something, ground, 700 something, ground. Now, we're going to switch and see if we have continuity, continuity, continuity. Hooray! So the good news is we're at 56%, so it definitely was the broken battery connector. So I'm going to proceed with installing our battery and everything else.
So if you can, fold as many of the flexes back. The little tricky part is going to be that arm in the upper right, but just finagle it as best as you can. And then don't forget about the flexes halfway down, immediately south of the battery connector. In this particular situation, I actually opted to remove my charging port because it was just 2 screws and it's one less flex to get past. So yeah, that helped me out a little bit.
So in no particular order, honestly, getting some of the annoying ones out of the way is always a good idea. The technique I have with some of these antennas is almost to sort of get it in place and then roll it on, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Let's see, we have this little dude right here. A tiny little square. I have accidentally damaged these before, so try not to. Then take my camera. Now you don't need one of these, but I don't like just blowing in there because you can accidentally blow spit in there, which is big surprise, not great. So as you can see with right here, some of these flexes are layered. Just love it when Apple does that. It's like you got to get it just the right distance. In some cases, it's almost easier to connect this little dude. And then we have 4 more of these little annoying things.
Did James give you the address?
Yeah.
Wait. What are the scenarios if I have to send it in? Seems so old school, but It's just I'm locked up till V does it. But you were able to do more than me. That's what I'm confused about.
Oh.
Hopefully we don't have to refill it out.
Yeah, hopefully. That would suck.
Like that.
All right, as there is some adhesive right here, you want to make sure that you get this in basically the right spot. So one of the most important things moving forward is you want to prep your frame. I made a whole video about sort of just general tips and tricks, which I'm going to leave right about here. But in a nutshell, it is, first is you get a chisel blade and then you go along the perimeter, you know, making sure to be careful of flex cables. And you essentially just remove all the adhesive, sort of residual adhesive that's left over. The next step is using an isopropyl alcohol pad. I replace some of the alcohol with 91 or 99%, and then I clean this up. At that point, the third step is going in with this stuff called adhesive primer, and I essentially lay some down here. I will also lay some down on the underside. It essentially just makes a stronger bond. And then the fourth step would be laying down your new adhesive. So the adhesive I use is called Tessa 61395. This stuff is amazing. You can get some at eTech Parts. So there's a link in the description, and then use the coupon code to get 5% off. Now, some of these areas are very intentional. Our ambient light sensors here, just where like some of the magnet, I believe there's a magnet here and here, and then the flex cable in these 4 sections here. Now this flex cable is a huge pain because there's not a very easy way to get to it. We went from 60 to 63. So I'm gonna call this a success. Remember, this bracket right here has a little lip on the right side. If you do it on the other side, you could, I don't know, possibly sever one or both of these flex cables. Don't do that. A lot of trial and error. All right, there we go. Once that's there, we then will take now, once we're here, you'll notice we still have our adhesive in place. And there's kind of not the easiest way to do this. In a lot of other models where you can sort of just tuck the screen out of the way, it's relatively simple to just pull your adhesive out. Here, we have this top flex up here, which sort of messes everything up. So essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the adhesive from 3 sides. We are then going to hold the screen just like this. We are then going to just rotate 90 degrees, and then we're going to get the final side. And it's kind of important to make sure that neither of these sides close until you're ready, just because it's a pain to obviously get them separated. All right, now we're going to rotate up at 90 degrees. And then we're going to, as you can see, I sort of am holding on each side. It's still open. And then we're gonna set down, seated at the bottom. apply pressure. I'm gonna leave on my heat mat for a few minutes. I have it set for, I don't know if you can tell, but 70 degrees. So I'm gonna leave it for a few minutes, and then I generally will apply, at least the technique that I have is, I have this little pad, and then I'll apply like a water jug or just something heavy. It could be books, just for a few minutes, just to make sure the adhesive cures properly. Once again, this is all in the name of making sure that the screen doesn't separate over time. So yeah, thank you for watching.